Just as a reminder of where we've been and where we need to go, our liturgical year started with the season of Advent some weeks ago, in November to be exact. And then the season of Advent proclaimed to us Jesus anticipated. Then we moved to the season of Christmas. Jesus received. We received the incarnate Word in the presence of Jesus. And now we're in the season of Epiphany. Jesus shared. We are now in the season where Jesus makes himself known to the Gentiles. And we'll be that way through until we reach Ash Wednesday. A long time to proclaim the good news to the Gentiles. The gospel lesson for today is about a king who sent his wise men out to follow a star in search of the newborn child. The lesson tells us that they were overwhelmed with joy when they saw where the star had stopped. So my title of my sermon for this morning is In Search of a Star. Think of the disappointments these men must have experienced as they went through the night and traveled for many miles by camel to discover the star that they were to follow to come to rest at a stable. They had followed a star and found a stable. Surely they were expecting a palace. Even so, they might have been expecting a stately mansion. Surely they were expecting something great. Think how they must have felt on that occasion. Their vast disappointments as they looked down from a nearby mountain in Judea where the star had come to rest over a stable. Following stars and finding stables is a common occurrence in human experiences. Who among us has not, from time to time, fixed our gaze on a lofty star, only to find a stable? Hundreds of examples could be given this morning, and I'll share with you only a couple of them. A young man graduates from high school, had great dreams about what his life would be, only to find out when he wakes up one morning to discover himself enmeshed in the very drudgery that he promised to himself that he would not do, promised that he would certainly avoid, was in the middle of it. Another example. A man comes to retirement age, much like many of you and I. He thinks that the good things are going to be at his disposal. He's going to do all these great things now that he's retired, or she is retired. After a few weeks, he begins to discover the retirement is not exactly what he thought it would be. The day draws longer and longer. The hours become more oppressive. All of us at some time in our lives follow a star only to discover a stable. The problem is how to turn that stable into a moment of salvation. What is it that enables wise men of every age to turn stables into a life of victory? Or to say it another way, turn lemons into lemonade. For one thing, they looked for God in those stables. We could not have blamed those 3 men of old if they had just dropped their heads, turned back toward home when they saw that their journey had led to a stable. Perhaps, though, the thought came to them that the wonder and majesty of God and the purpose of God could be just as potent in a stable as it is in a palace. As one reads the scripture, if we are sensitive at least, we will note that the scriptures are quite realistic about stables that come even to God's people. Let me illustrate this for you. Take the New Testament figure Joseph, for example. You remember Joseph, the man with the coat of many colors. This fellow was stolen from his home, betrayed by his brothers, dropped into a pit, sold to trade owners, made a manservant in the household in Egypt. This man served the master's wife that he was working for, told lies on him that caused him to be put in prison. No one can suppose that this would happen to any man, or that the humiliation and disgrace he could not see any of that would be anything great for him. God was taking care of him, and he didn't realize it. But later then, his brothers stood before him in humility and disgrace, starvation and fear. He claimed and calmed their hearts with these words: "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Can you do that with your life? Can you look at your own disappointments and see God's power and purpose in your life? Who among us has not searched for a star and found a stable? Who among us is willing to admit that? What do you do when you follow a star and find a stable? First of all, you look for God and His purpose. Then you give your best to God. But the crowning experience comes when you take it back to the stable, back into the pattern of your everyday living. Disappointments can get the best of you from time to time, and you will discover that as you proceed, if it helps you to grow to maturity. The difference between those who are mediocre and those who are great is that great people learn from their experiences, whether good experiences or bad experiences. They learn from them, thus gaining new insights into their own abilities. How about you this morning? How about your life? Is that what you're needing most? A new direction? That's the glory of the gospel. That's why the story of the first Christmas was good news, because it has a way of transforming the coarse and commonplace into something significant and sacred. So I ask you, have you followed a star only to come to the end, to a stable? If you have, then look to God for what is there. you may be surprised at what you will find. Then offer your best to God. He will use it graciously in his kingdom. And when you leave home, go by another way. Don't let the Herods in your life and in this world tell you what to do. These are the secrets of wise men of every generation when they follow a star and find a stable. Amen.